Detour. Proudly unpredictable, laughs, hot takes, and stories unrepeatable. If you want straight lines, you're on the wrong track. Once you're on the detour, there's no turning back.
G'day, welcome back to the Detour podcast. I'm your host, Dan Jones. As always, joined by four-time national road champion from Australia, Johnny Tororo. Now, we're doing this via just pure audio. We're going old school podcast, and that is, it's the morning after the watch party, and I'll be honest with you, John, you look like a half-sucked mango.
Well, I got to tell you, I look a lot better than you, Dan, because I've been awake for an hour. You've just woken up.
Oh, it feels like staying with your father. You get the knock on the door, basically, you getting up yet? No chance to fully charge the batteries, but what an epic edition of Paris-Roubaix, Iffy, and I'm so proud that we did the watch party at the Bleakhouse Hotel. There was a lot of talk about, I'm staying at the finish. It was like the race itself. It whittled down to 4. And there was you, me, Tommy Walker.
He was only there because he's the publican and he was worried about us pinching stuff out of the bar.
Well, yeah, that was a strategic play. And Gouldy, who gave us a lift home as well. So I'll give him 3 votes.
Yeah.
What are your takeaways, John?
Well, I love Paris-Roubaix. Is just, it's always a bit of a game of dice, but so much happened. I've never seen anything like it. Most punctures I've ever seen in a bike race, and I can't work out why there were just so many punctures.
It's because cobblestones. Some of them are sharp.
No, more than ever. I just don't know why, but maybe it's these new tyres they're riding. I don't know. But then Van der Poel, he punctures in the forest. Jasper gives him your bike with different pedals. I can't work that out. Same team, different pedals.
Just on that, let's break that down. So they go into the forest of Arenberg. There's the big moment where Van der Poel has a flat rear wheel flat, was it, or front?
Front.
And your role as a support rider is to be there to support them if there is a mechanical. And so the quickest way to do a transition is obviously give them your bike, particularly the way the new wheels work, and they don't have the same cleat set up. That's baffling. Wouldn't that be your first priority?
Yes.
Johnny, marginal gains.
I know. And then he gives the bike back to Jasper, walks back towards his bike. He's already 100 metres up the road. His other teammate stopped and was changing putting his front wheel into Van der Poel's to get him going. So that really saved him then and there. That was just amazing, actually.
But, you look at then, well, obviously there's a lot to dissect, but the ride of Van der Poel, because the gap blew out to, what was it, about 2 minutes?
Over 2 minutes, yeah.
And to get it back, they got close. I think at one point there it came back to, in 20
seconds, yeah.
20 seconds. And they were going. And you talked about this a lot. That's the speed of the peloton now. They average just under 50 kilometres per hour for Paris-Roubaix, which is ridiculous.
It is ridiculous. He was lucky in a way because Ganna also punctured. And they got together. So Ganna was doing the real strong turns on the bitumen, and Van der Poel was doing it on the cobbles. And together, because there was a bit going on up the front, they kept puncturing up there too. The POG ended up having to ride one of the Shimano bikes. Had a couple of punctures. Van Aert had punctures. So there was no one who came out of that unscathed.
Traditionally, I mean, everyone makes big predictions, and at a watch party, that's what I loved about it is there's particularly when a few beers kick in and you become a knower. I was telling everyone the break's going to go with 200k to go, usually about 50 odd k in. It just doesn't follow the blueprint anymore because it's so fast, Johnny.
No break. Look, UAE were very strong in the race early on. So as soon as the break couldn't get established, they just went into the front and just set a pace that was too high. But it backfired a bit when POG had his problems, and he ended up being like a minute out the back, and he had to use up all his teammates to get back to the front, so to speak. So it was just an interesting bike race. But in the end, the best man won.
I can't believe, like, obviously I'm wrapped for Wout van Aert. The scenes at the finish were fantastic. obviously, Belgium, it would have been like, when cities win the Super Bowl and they light cars up and they flip them over, like the party scenes over there would have been pretty incredible. But the team has never won it, Johnny.
Look, and, the Belgies, they love a Venepol, Remco and all of that, but they really love Wout van Aert. He is the hero of Belgium. Of all sportsmen, he is the most popular sportsman in Belgium. And, for him to win that, it's just amazing.
And I liked how he was the classic wheel sucker with it, in the last 20 Ks, he wasn't just sitting on Pog's wheel. It looked like at one point his handlebars were riding up Pog's butt crack. He was that close.
Well, that was just when Pog was attacking, trying to drop him. But the rest of the time, he worked with him because they knew they had to keep Van der Poel at bay, which they did. And once they got onto the track, I was being an owl. I said, Van Aert's got this. I couldn't see him getting beaten, and he won it easily. Yeah.
So, what's the key takeaway when people talk about the 2026 edition? What are going to be the key things that pop out?
Paul, just how many punctures there were. I just can't believe how many. But the key thing that'll probably pop out is bad luck for Stewie O'Grady. It means the Pog probably won't be out for the Tour Down Under. He's still got the Paris-Roubaix that he desperately wants. And I mean, he's ridden it twice, second twice. Bring on 2027.
There's really nothing else the Pog could have done differently, yeah? In hindsight? How could have he raced that differently? You couldn't.
The way it all panned out, nothing he could have done. I mean, once they got clear, he tried his hardest to drop Van Aert on the last couple of cobble sections, that last 5-star. But it spent so many bickies. He wasn't. It wasn't a normal Pog attack. It was powerful, but not. You could see on that I think third last 5-star section that Van Aert had his measure.
And obviously, how many starts? 5 starts now for the Pog. This is a real black spot now that he's ran second. Like, how's he mentally going to recover from this?
Good on you, Dan. He's had 4 starts this year, 3 wins and a second.
Yeah.
I think he'll be okay. Look, I'm just looking forward to the Hilly Classics coming up, Amstel and Liège.
And the watch party itself, we've got to give a shout out to, obviously, our Club Detour Foundation members who are enabling us to do the website, and we do encourage people, like, if you can do anything to support the page, jump on and sign up for we will be doing free newsletters. But last night was great because at the Bleakhouse, I had never been there before, and they had a space out the back there, and you had Baden Cook there, who's obviously ridden Paris-Roubaix, and Cookie got up and you asked him a few questions. He spoke unbelievable, but his story he gave from 2009 was fantastic.
Yeah, he maybe a bit of an iffy story. He could have won. He broke his bloody shoe right when they were just closing in on Van Sumeren, who ended up winning it. So that was his big chance. He was a team leader. Bjarne Rees had really backed him. It was a fantastic story, but. Look, it was, as you say, a really good night. We didn't get to watch the women live because it finished, so late. But I've watched it this morning, and a bit of a surprise, you could say. Visma cocked it up, actually.
Yeah, but give us your summary of what happened in the women's.
Well, I've only just watched the highlights reel just then, but Franzi Kosch, I suppose you say, the young German girl, German champion, her first ever World Tour win, and not a bad one.
Not a bad, yeah.
Away with the defending champ, Pauline Farrar, whatever hyphen, who's in great form, and Mariana, the goat, Mariana Vos, and the three of them got on the track together. But she was just the strongest. She looked in the last 15, 20K, she just looked the strongest. There's no way that the Visma girls could do the 1-2 because she was just too strong.
The decision to race the women and the men on the one day, I get the financially it's easier because obviously logistics, particularly with the TV coverage, a lot of the cameras are set up, but you've still got the roaming motos, you've still got the helicopters. But I remember the first women's Roubaix edition when we were all in COVID and we were watching live sport like you wouldn't believe, but that was one of the best bike races I've ever seen.
Yeah.
And it really is disappointing that they didn't get their own day on the Saturday because, I mean, it would have been a different race. We predicted that, and I blame Stewie. He gave us the doomsday prediction for the weather. And so our whole betting preview and all our socials was, the rain's coming, it's going to be chaos. It actually didn't turn out too bad. But the fact that they're unable to race it on their own day, I thought would have been better for the women. Do you agree?
Oh, well...
Or you capitalise on the crowd that are already there.
Exactly. You know, they would never get that big a crowd. I worried a bit about, you know, the fans get a little bit merry, and a couple of hours later they're getting a little bit merrier. And,
particularly without winning.
Yeah, and I can tell you there was a really nasty crash about 20k to go in the women's where one of the crowd stuck their arm out and actually knocked a woman down.
Oh,
she
really?
Crashed really hard, yeah. So, which is an issue. That's what happened to young Pithy, Lawrence Pithy, the Kiwi. He hit a member of the crowd, which cost him maybe getting on the podium.
He had a sensational ride.
Yeah.
He's obviously a super talent. And once our good money was burnt on Durbo, 251 to 1. And chapeau to Keto for giving you a shout out on the broadcast. You were interviewing Cookie, but your phone lit up like a Christmas tree because he said that if Durbo wins, you're going to retire to the Cayman Islands. But once that money was torched, obviously you jump across the border and you start going for the Kiwis. And, yeah, that was a sensational ride.
Yeah. You mentioned Durbo. He didn't have a great day. He got stuck in the back group, and he would be disappointed with that.
But I do feel for guys like Durbo because 10 years ago, when breaks could get up the road and could form and you could strategically ride a race like that, it's just neon impossible for the likes of a Durbo getting up the road with that sort of pace without fully cooking the gasket.
Yes, well, I've never seen a Paris-Roubaix where a break didn't get up the road, so it's very different in many ways.
Yep. All right. We'll jump on the website. We're going to really start cranking up the social media content. Follow us on Instagram. Let all your mates know to get on and support the website by signing up. And again, thanks to all the Club Detour members. And what have we got to look forward to now? We roll into the Ardennes, Iffy.
Oh, look, Venipol, I'm not sure what he's riding in the if he's riding any of the Ardennes, but I hope he does because Liège is perfectly suited for him. I love Liège. It's one of the great classics. Guerreau won it a few years back, and time for another Aussie win.
Yeah, we'll do some behind the scenes content and relive some stories, particularly the day Guerreau won. We might get the Ween dog on. He'd be a good guest.
Yeah, he would be.
I haven't checked in with the dog for a while, so he's got plenty of bark left in him. All right, thanks for tuning in, guys, and stay tuned for more Detour.
The Detour, proudly unpredictable, laughs, hot takes, and stories unrepeatable. If you want straight lines, you're on the wrong track. Once you're on the Detour, there's no turning back.